My husband is not a good performer. He snores in bed. My husband is this and this. My wife is this and this. Those stories are common about sex. This channel is about love. And this channel is out to help people know that with love, there is not much that you can solve. What appears to be very difficult in a relationship would melt away if you let love shine and give the understanding and the patience and the empathy that may be required to solve what to some people may look very difficult. Yesterday I was chatting with a lady friend of mine, and she said, these men from this community are very useless in bed. I'm actually divorcing my husband because of that. So I said, I'm going to talk about it today. I will not mention the community. They just go after money, and of course she was right. She was wrong, rather. And the focus of my discussion today is about sexual satisfaction in terms of the factors. Let's get it right from the onset. Sex is a psychological game. And there isn't a single factor that can mess sex or promote it. There isn't a single one factor that can make sex enjoyable, that can make you dismiss your partner. And today I want to look at some of the factors that people isolate, including just one of the factors. This is from a discussion I had with friends of mine like Jerry and Isaac, and I just mentioned one or two names, and so on and so forth. Something I was calling my discussion SRV, size, round, and vigor. That there are women who will dismiss their men because of size. There are those who will think the man may be okay in terms of size, but he doesn't do sufficient rounds. There was a case that appeared in a Kisi court. I remember the cuttings of that case from newspapers. It would be found in many offices, where a woman was arguing in court before a woman magistrate. In Kisi, this is a real story. She was seeking divorce from the husband, and the main reason was the man was not giving her satisfaction. So the woman magistrate asked her, like, what do you mean? You know, the man doesn't do enough rounds. So this magistrate, remember she's a woman, asked him, so how many rounds does he do? 5. What? The whole court was in shock, including the magistrate. 5? That's an extreme. But the truth, however, is that there are many women who will count satisfaction in terms of the rounds the man is supposed to go. Again, a man may have all those things, but he doesn't have the vigor. Again, I remember some lady called Vicky, I think, who was telling another man in our circle of friends, you want to marry another wife. Do you have the energy in the chest? Do you have the chest? Oh, granted, there's some little energy required in sex. But these three seems to be the point of misinformation about sex, especially in a marriage. I must go where I started, that sex is what two people make of it. I'll give you one or two stories, time allowing. But one of the stories has appeared in a book I've written, which is yet to be published, Saving the African Marriage, in which there is a woman who has been complaining about the husband being a useless man. But as fate would have it, as life works, as things happen in this world, somehow the friend had ended up sleeping with the husband, with her husband. I mean, not to test, But you know, I've talked about fate and twist and how things work in this world. She was so shocked. She had never in her life enjoyed sex the way she was enjoying with this man. Yet for years, her very close friend, she was sorry she had slept with the husband, the friend. But she was so shocked that this is the man, the husband, the friend has been talking very ill of. She just fell short of asking her. But remember, you are stealing somebody's husband. How do you go and tell her? But she was shocked. What did that tell you? It tells you those three factors of sex, round, and vigor may not be as necessary, especially if seen in isolation, as we want to make it. But the more important thing it tells you is that sex is what two people make. That irrespective of any of these three and others we have not put, irrespective, two people can find an equilibrium in bed. So that if somebody happened to see what your husband is carrying, they will even sympathize with you. I say, worry, how? Is this woman not suffering? How could she be living with a man who was a mouse for her manhood? And yet you, because love is there and you have found your own equilibrium, like water finds its own level, you are good to go. This takes me to a story of the books we used to read when you were Form 1, Class 8, 7 there, Form 1, Form 2. I can't quite remember. I think it was called The Fun Club. It's not a very good story. And I'm not trying to say it's a very good thing that happened, because there's something to do with rape. And rape is the worst form of crime that you can commit against another human being. But this is the story of a man who has been watching a celebrity woman on television. He's been obsessed with wanting to sleep with her. I don't know what kind of celebrity she is. It's quite a while back when I was a young boy. But some of these celebrities, either in film industry or advertising or whatever it is, I can't recall. But she was so sexual and so beautiful. He got so obsessed that he came up with a scheme just to grab this woman, take her into some hiding, and enjoy. He couldn't do it alone, so he recruited people. I don't have a lot of details. But one of the people, each of the people in this story represent this SRV I'm talking about. One of the people he recruited was a very rough man who worked in a garage. And to him, he believed it was like a piston working. A man must work like a piston. And there were many women who, when they brought their cars to the garage, seemed to enjoy the piston that was his, that he was like a piston. So he kept getting women after women in the garage. And he came to believe it was because of the piston-like movements he was making. So this one was recruited. I don't have many of the details. Then there was another man who was a salesman. I don't know on what basis he was recruited. And then there was a young man. In the story, he's called a dreamer. Now, so they took this woman deep into a forest after hijacking her. They took time. In their view, they thought they would convince her to see the sense in them just having sex with her. Of course, things don't work like that. But after some times, of course, now they decided to do it almost by force and whatever. And that's why I'm saying it's another very good story in terms of rape. Each of these men thought, although this is forced sex, this woman is going to like them. And this is how, of course, they fail. The man who works like a piston thought because he has that power to pump like a piston, then this woman, even in rep, was going to be happy. And indeed, I've read a certain story, again, this is just a fiction, where some men went to some house to rob, and in the process, they also raped the wife of the home, the woman of the home. But the shocking bit was that the husband could not believe that his woman, who was so cold in terms of sex, was mourning in happiness and in the process of rape. This is fiction. But again, some of these things do happen. So this idiot, allow me to call him an idiot, thought that this woman who has been coerced into sex deep into a forest was going to enjoy it, and even chased away the other men, and they will even have a relationship. Of course, nothing happened. We can go around the others, and each of them had an experience. But this woman saw a way of escape through this dreamer boy. He was the youngest. And when it was the time for this younger man to do the bad thing to her, and somehow she got some information, I don't know, I can't recall, about this whole enterprise, if you can call it a stupid thing, an enterprise. Some leakage of sort from this boy. But of all the people in the team, there are about 5-6 people. The salesman had the weakest in terms of the size or something like that, which the lady was describing as a mouse. And the boy, the dreamer boy, also had his own weakness in terms of strength in bed or something like that. But to her horror and shock, she was able to come. It was shock to her that when she slept with this dreamer, she was able to come. Of course, this is fiction. It's about a bad story of rape. But like in many other instances, we learn things. We learn things from experiences, even bad experiences. If this had been a true story, we would really be sympathizing with the woman and cursing the woman, the man. But this was fiction. So let's take it as fiction, because it is fiction. You can look for the book. I don't know, you can guess. It's called The Fan Club. F-A-N Club. I don't know whether I read it like 40 or so years ago. So even my memory is a bit hazy and fuzzy. The point I'm trying to make, if you look at all those different people, each of them had different endowments, if you wish, either in size, in the vigor, in the energy, like a piston, or they were highly compromised in terms of size. So one of them would describe like a small mouse, a mouse and a small animal. But you can see that the weakest happens to have delivered satisfaction to the woman, even in those circumstances. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to tell women and men, sex is psychological. And the best way to ground sex in a relationship, especially marriage, is love. If you let love reign, all the anxieties, many times men are unable to perform well, it's always through anxiety. Am I doing well? We've had stories, we've been young and we've gone through these situations. When a man has a problem with an erection the first time with a woman, and he may not have sexual dysfunction, it's called erectile dysfunction. What is dysfunction? But that bit, because there could be a reason why a man may fail to have an erection in the first instance, or have the erection but perform very badly. The more common one is a man just, as women would say, behaving like a jogo, like a cuckoo, just to a couple of seconds and the game is over. First of all, it doesn't mean that's the situation, but it does impose something now on the man. The fear the fear of not delivering that first instance can define your relationship with that man forever. And therefore you may never end up enjoying sex with your husband because of the way he performed on the first day. And therefore, like I'm saying, you have to know this is psychological. You have to know love should be the infrastructure of a relationship, special sex, love. And you also ought to know that there isn't one single parameter or factor you'll base on your satisfaction. And if you have come to a relationship, not a virgin, but with past experiences, the worst thing you are going to do is to use those past experiences as a yardstick for your man. You see, it's the men who are in problem in this case, more than men. Because more than a woman, a man must have the ego right. A man must have the state of the mind right. Because you see, the male apparatus and the female apparatus, the male apparatus cannot work until it is in a certain form. The woman may not be very happy about it, but the apparatus can work. Not ideally, but can. You may not even know as a man that your woman is not ready for you. Well, you know, with the jelly and everything else, even if there was dryness, you wouldn't know. But for a man, you have to get an erection. And that erection is the state of the mind. So that's number one. And number two, there isn't a single thing that you can say, and maybe you are bringing this from your background, that you enjoyed sex because your man was like a donkey. No. Not all men will be like donkeys. This now is your husband. You'll have to work it out until you find an equilibrium. Maybe you had a relationship with a man who was a horse, in terms of horsepower. Sex is not about power. So if you allow your past to put you in a prison, you won't go far. Maybe you have had a relationship in which you went to bed with a man and by morning he was counting 4, 5, 6. Again, that one factor cannot be used to determine a relationship. And as I ask you to subscribe to this channel, to share our videos, to come up with your testimony, to bring people you know who have testimonies, whom you think they can share with people. As I invite you, if you have issues you want us to address, we are here, I'm here, I can give you a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. If you want some advice, we can give a bit of it in terms of relationships. As I do all this, I must summarize by telling you a very simple thing which you ought to have known today by now. That sex is what you make it. Sex is what two people make it. There is no fixed parameter or factor that if a man doesn't have this, then he's not a man. Never. Never. There is not even one. You could be allowing what you hear stories, what you watch in movies, what you hear people say, what you hear friends say. Your friends could even be lying to you. Lay down a carpet of love in your bedroom. Let love glow and shine and drip in your bedroom and in your relationship. And all else, including sex, shall go well. Please subscribe and share to Let's Talk Love. Thank you.